Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to This Is a Takeover. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I'm here to introduce your hosts, Shelby Ray and Gina Belmont.
Thank you so much, David. Oh my goodness, doing that intro just gave me chills a little bit.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
It's real now.
Yeah.
We're actually doing this. It's not just an idea that we've been throwing around. But hello, everybody.
Hey, y'all. Hey.
How's everybody? So this show is something that we've been thinking about for a while, and it's basically what the title says.
Yep.
So everyone who is listening to this right now knows of This Is a Work.
Yep.
Obviously, because why else would you be listening to this right now? Because they've been plugging us. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the format of This Is a Work, and instead of reviewing the Raw and SmackDown pay-per-views, we're going to review the TakeOver pay-per-views.
NXT.
Exactly. So it's basically like This Is a Work, except with NXT and ladies.
Yeah.
Instead of men.
Yeah.
So, because
we might have some different points of view to focus on.
Yeah, we're going to have lots of different points of views, I think, because I don't know if y'all know us or not, but we are not wrestlers.
No.
We are not wrestlers in the slightest.
Not at all.
If you saw us, you would probably know this. We are both pretty short and not built at all.
No.
And don't know terms and don't know maybe all the moves.
You definitely know a lot more. I am the newbie. I am the person who is, not bandwagoning because everybody else was doing it, but I'm still learning a lot, and especially with NXT because I had not been watching NXT. But
yes, I feel like I introduced you to that for sure.
Yeah, but we can talk about that later.
Yes, we can. So basically what we wanted to do was come on this episode and just introduce you to us. And some of you may know us. Some of you may have heard our episode that we did on This Is a Work, even though that feels like that
forever
was ages ago. I can't even remember. I actually tried to look up my episode and could not find it.
Yeah, so because of our streaming limitations on Podomatic, which is where I host the podcast, we can only have a certain amount of episodes streaming at a time. Mm-hmm. So because the pay-per-views were so more time-centric than a lot of the stuff that we were doing on the Long Walk Talks, our other podcast on this channel, every couple of months I would take out the oldest episode of This Is a Work, and
that just shows you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
But I have since started backing everything up on YouTube. So as they're going live on through Podomatic into streaming services like Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and everything, it's also going up at the same time on YouTube.
Got it.
So hopefully no more missing episodes.
So nothing personal. It's not that I completely bombed the episode and you just took it off because it was so embarrassing.
Throughout that entire explanation, because you cannot see our faces, we were just giving David the death glare the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, can you find your episode? Like, is that?
To be honest, no.
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, mine, I'm pretty sure mine was after yours, so maybe one or two after. So
yeah, pretty close in between each other.
Well, I've talked about it a lot on Long Walk Talks, but getting this core group of people together to record, like we didn't do an episode of Long Walk Talks for 2 months just because of how difficult it was.
I know. I saw that y'all just posted, and I was really happy about that.
We're finally back. So for a long time, getting Chris and Dogs in the same room to do This Is a Work was difficult enough, and when you throw a guest star into the mix, like if we weren't recording at his house right after the pay-per-view, sometimes it just wasn't going to happen. So
that's valid.
Yeah,
that show has gone it had gone a long time without having a guest before Robert was on for the last pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's true. Because it was a big chunk of time where y'all didn't have anybody. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and it's funny because you're talking about recording after watching the pay-per-view, and some of these pay-per-views, my goodness,
buddy,
4, sometimes 5 hours if you're doing WrestleMania.
Ooh,
like
that one was
so. Because I came in and did a separate day when I recorded my episode, and I think you recorded, Gina, right after. And I feel
it was
like
not a WrestleMania though, so
I wouldn't have been able to do that because I would have been so tired. Yeah, I probably would have fallen asleep.
Yeah, that one wasn't too long though, so that may be why.
Yeah, but yes. So basically, we are the literal sister show, right?
Hey.
To This Is a Work. Yes, thank you. I wrote that down to make sure I did not forget it because I thought it was funny. But we will not be recording as many times as This Is a Work because takeovers only happen about 4 to 5 times a year.
Yep.
Usually in conjunction with the other pay-per-views.
Yeah, they normally open the show. Well, not open the show, but open the weekend of performances for WWE.
Right. So like takeover would be Saturday when WrestleMania would be Sunday. Or unless you're like this year and have decided to completely uproot everything.
Woo!
We'll definitely get into that later for sure. But just to kind of introduce ourselves, I wanted to kind of talk about our intros into wrestling. I knew I kind of floated these questions towards you last night.
Yeah.
So what was your first introduction, Gina, to wrestling? So like as a one wrestler, that was your like intro. Like you saw them.
Like ever before like watching like any WWE or anything like that. The first person or wrestler when I was growing up was Andre the Giant because my favorite, tied favorite movie of all time is The Princess Bride. So I would constantly watch that movie. And so I knew about Andre the Giant and I knew about a lot of information. And I actually looked up information about him when I was a kid because he was just so inspiring and cool to me.
Right.
So he was the first one outside of the wrestling world that I remember, like, because he was not an actor. I mean,
he could barely speak.
He could barely speak. And so I was like, oh, this guy wrestles? Okay, interesting. So that's when I did the research on that. But I mean, the first time I ever sat down and fully watched a wrestling match was with you. And that was in college. And that was, you ready for this, y'all?
Yes.
2014.
Oh.
That was 2014.
So long ago.
I was a sophomore in college.
Baby Gina.
Woo!
You were a sophomore in 2014.
Yeah, I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this ageism to come in. I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this because I knew.
For those of you who can't, because obviously this is an audio medium, not a visual medium, David is staring a hole through Gina's face right now.
Yes, to those who are older, yes, I am a baby, and I get this joke constantly. So yes, 2014.
You are the baby of our group, I think,
and that's
right?
so weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird to me because I was not for so long with my other friend groups, and then I got here to Charlotte, and then everyone's like, "Wow, you're so young.
You're a baby."
And I'm like, "Wow, that's not what I was expecting for you to say." Cool. But yes, but yeah, the first ever event I watched was with you, and that was in your college apartment that later I moved into after you moved out. But that was right in the Yes movement era. Daniel Bryan came in and my whole world was flipped upside down by
Quite
this dude.
smitten, I would say.
Absolutely. I don't know why. It wasn't not looks because
he looks like a goat.
he looked like a goat.
He still kind of looks like a goat without the hair.
But it was more so just the fact that everybody, I mean, I jumped on the bandwagon. I absolutely did. And I loved his style of wrestling. It was more traditional based on everybody else. A lot of the stuff, for women at that time, it was better. And Shelby had explained that to me as we were watching, that the women's movement for wrestling was getting better. A lot of the times it was
starting.
Yeah,
when you started watching in 2014.
Yeah,
because you still had like the Bella twins and like the pretty models that would come in. And you were just starting to scratch the surface with like Bailey and Sasha.
So and I remember the woman because my best friend, I'll probably mention him a lot because he started watching wrestling with me at the time, was Dylan. Dylan was absolutely in love with Paige.
Yes,
he
was.
loved Paige. And Paige, I think, was one of the first women where I was like, okay, I can see this like going somewhere. Right. Everybody else for the women, like, I don't know. I'll do more research and look back. It's been a while. But Paige and then Daniel Bryan really were the ones that were like, okay, I like this. I can see a real storyline and a plot, and you know, I feel like this is something I could watch on a regular basis. That's really fun.
Yeah, like, so would you say that Daniel Bryan was the one that made you look at wrestling and be like, oh, this is for me. I enjoy this.
Yeah, and as because for those of you who do not know, Shelby and I went to the same college, and we went to East Carolina University for theater, specifically theater for youth. So for us, I mean, for me specifically, it was kind of like watching stage combat. It was kind of like, oh, that's a really cool move. Like, how are they doing that? Like, my brain was going, how are they doing that without actually killing each other? Like, how are they doing this without
sometimes
somebody dying? And yes, there were some where, ooh, that person took that hit.
Yes.
But that's where my brain was coming from. I was like, oh, like, this isn't just, I'm going to smite you. And like, it wasn't just ridiculous, like over the top, just almost dumb show. It was really cool to watch it.
Right.
So that was my first encounter.
We had lots of fun times then.
We did.
With lots of wings and
so much wing
noise
stop.
complaints, and it was great.
It was great. Oh man.
But yeah, for me, my wrestling exposure started a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
My dad was into it, only for a short amount of time that I can remember. I mean, he might have been into it before I started watching it with him, but I was around like 8 or 9, maybe, when I started like seeing it on TV with him, and he was a huge Stone Cold fan.
That's hilarious, like, Joe.
I mean, if you know my dad, it makes sense. but yes.
I would love to see him like watching Stone Cold in that chair that's been his chair. Sorry, that's hilarious.
Exactly. And
that's
so
hilarious.
He was super, I mean, from my memory, he might listen to this and be like, Shelby, I like just casually watched it. Like, it's, you're, putting a lot more emphasis on it than I, thought. But to me, he was into it. Yeah. And so I was into it, and I was the tomboy out of me and my sister, and she would not want to watch it. So I would watch it with him. So it would kind of be like our bonding thing. And then once Stone Cold kind of became irrelevant, then he stopped watching. Yeah. Because that's kind of what my dad does. He does that with NASCAR. He does that with football. Like, it's basically like when his person leaves, like, he's done. Like, so I dropped off, and then in college, when we met, is when I started getting into it again. And that's actually when I was exposed to NXT. Because that's when NXT had just started getting off.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
It had started in like 2010, but that was back when it was a game show. I don't know if y'all knew that or not.
What?
But yeah, so it was a reality game show where they basically pulled people from independent circuits.
Wait,
and Daniel Bryan was a part
that's
of
what I was just gonna say, because was he not being quote unquote taught by the Miz? Oh my god,
The Miz was his like mentor.
That's
so
right.
Each one. So I think like Drew McIntyre got put into this. Daniel Bryan for sure, but they like got put with pros.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Or like mentors, and that was the show. And so it wasn't an actual like what Raw and SmackDown is.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like the goal was to move up to the quote unquote main roster through this game show.
Oh man.
And I haven't gone back and watched it in a really long time, but it's all on the network.
We definitely should.
So we definitely should.
Definitely should.
But yeah, so I got back into it. That's when the network started. So that was like a huge deal. And then moved here and kind of stopped watching it for multiple reasons. And then met our group of theater people, who one of them being dogs. And he
Shout
got
out
me
to David Two Dogs Hayes.
Yes, that was very good.
Thank you. I was
dog's
trying.
impression.
Got to get more gravel in my voice.
You do. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll work on it.
But he was like, yeah, like we watched the pay-per-views, like y'all should come over. And I've been, on it ever since. Watch it all the time. Super into it. But I think the main person for me, and you're going to laugh at me when I say this, because you already know. I'm sure you already know who it is. Finn Balor was the one that I saw and was like, this is theater.
Yeah.
Like, I can relate to this. Like, so basically, if you are a wrestling fan, you know who Finn Balor is. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, he is a Irishman. Mm-hmm. And he... Yes. Gina's smiling super big right now. Which
you're very subdued. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm getting through this a lot better than I thought I would. I wrote down a lot of stuff to keep me on track. So his whole thing was, he is Finn Balor, But for the takeovers or the pay-per-views, he would become what was known as the demon.
Yes.
And he would paint himself to look like a demon, and whoever did his makeup and
still does his makeup.
I mean, he hasn't done it in a very, very long time, but whoever did his makeup and does his makeup is incredible.
Yes.
Because the detail that they do, and every time it was different.
Yeah.
So, like, if you go back and watch
the
takeovers from, like, 2014, 2015, each takeover, he had a different design of demon.
Yeah.
And it depended on where they were. So, like, when he eventually moved up to Raw, and won the first ever Universal title, he had the demon, and there was an eye on the back of him, and it had the Statue of Liberty crown around it.
What?
So it was literally like he would personalize it to whatever city he was doing, like wherever they were. And so when I was watching him, I was like, I'm enthralled by this person. Like, he is so into what he's doing and is so committed. Yeah. And the fact that he wrestles differently when he's the demon. He talks differently. He acts differently.
Yeah.
He moves differently. Like, it's even down to, like, how he walks and how he enters the ring. And so I was completely enthralled, and just, like, everyone had to shut up whenever he was on TV.
Yes.
Because, like, even my boyfriend at the time, I literally would, like, smack him and be like, shut up. Like, Finn's on TV.
Yeah.
Like, and it got that bad.
And you know what? It makes sense why we like the people we do, because they're both trained in the same style. They both came from Japan.
They did.
They both were trained. So that's why their character is so in depth. Their choices are so, like, I think that's why we like those people who are trained in that way, because it reminds us of theater and reminds us of that training.
We were both in school for theater at the time. When we both got into it.
We were like, ooh, this is character development. Ooh, let's write down this and take notes.
And he has an awesome Irish accent.
Yeah,
and I'm a sucker
pretty
for
great.
an Irish accent.
It's pretty great.
I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say that.
Yes.
But I think that was, like, when I saw him performing, I think that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
If there's more people like this, then I definitely want to keep watching. But I think maybe that's why I have a soft spot for NXT.
Yeah,
because
that makes sense.
He started there, and then it opened up, like, oh my gosh, all these people are amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to keep watching. And I think that leads to my next question, is to why do we prefer NXT?
NXT, to me, I don't want to get too in depth of, like, it's better than this or this or this, but more so just because it still has that feeling of realness. And I know that's hard to explain, but
what, wrestling's not real?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, what? Anywho.
Dreams shattered.
Anywho. I think it's just more honest with, like, the matches, the reactions between. It's not as scripted. I think that's the best word that I feel. Like, sometimes with a lot of the stuff coming on with the main roster,
quote unquote.
I don't know. It just feels so scripted. Some of the stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna say it.
Do it.
Bobby Lashley and Lana. That storyline can go jump off of a cliff.
Are you going to have a Dogs moment? Because literally every time I feel like Dogs brings up Bobby Lashley, like, you can just hear him seething in the background.
I now
if not Dogs, then Chris.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But that's just a prime example of just, no, you know what? No, one that makes me even more upset is the lady who, I'm so mad I don't even remember her name. I just remember her fake red hair. The woman who's like, I'm pregnant.
Maria Kanellis.
Dude, that's the stupidest Don't
hit me, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I was sitting there going, that's what I'm talking about. These storylines where, like, all of the characters or all the people, I shouldn't say characters, sorry, that was my theater brain.
Yes.
All the people in NXT, they have beef with each other because one did something where they just smack somebody else. And it's like, oh, what a concept.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'd be mad at that person too. Like, it's real rivalry. It's
the
not
raw rivalry of, you looked at me funny in the
it's
hallway,
like, oh, you want to say something?
Fight.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you want to go? Let's go. Like, it's just simple. It's not like, oh yes, like 4 weeks back, this person talked about their mother in a really important. It's like, I don't care.
That. And now I don't really want to watch a vignette where you're going to remind me of what happened 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think and my final point about why I prefer NXT is because they don't drag on like the same kind of battles, or not battles, but the same kind of dilemmas or whatever. It's like if one person lost, then
over.
It's done.
Yeah,
they move on, and then they find other people, and the pairings that they get, you're like, oh, maybe I didn't think of that person going with that person, but it works, and then they learn to work with each other, and it's great, and then they move on, and it's phenomenal.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because it kind of goes along with what's going on right now in the storylines. So basically you have Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, who used to be friends, used to be tag team partners.
That's right.
And were tag team champions at one point. And they have kind of like on and off for the past like 2.5 years maybe, have like been friends, then not been friends.
Yep.
Been friends. And so, but like, they'll do it for a little bit, and then they'll go away from it, and then they'll ramp it back up again. Yeah. So like now, one of the matches that was supposed to be for Tampa is going to be between the two of them. And this last Wednesday, Triple H came on and was like, I need to meet with you two because your feud is getting out of hand. Ooh. And because if you haven't seen the show NXT, I don't know what you're doing and why you're listening to this. But
you've got a lot of catch up on. You have so
much catching up to do. But in the previous episode, they beat the living shit out of each other and literally went around the performance center, like threw weights at each other.
Oh my gosh.
I think Gargano threw Champa through a glass door at one point.
Oh man.
Like did so much property damage to this thing. But so basically Triple H is like, okay, we need to have a face-to-face conversation. No one's touching each other during this conversation, but we need to have it out and we need to talk about what y'all are doing because it's getting out of hand.
Yeah. Oh, that's sick.
But so basically the whole premise of the match that they're going to have is they're like, I don't care if I'm in front of a crowd. I don't care if I'm this. Like, I just want to beat him up.
Yeah.
And so basically...
I know that's so violent, but...
I know, but it's kind of satisfying.
But
because it's so simple.
Yes.
It's like, I hate him. I hate him. I want to fight you.
Yeah.
Like... But so basically the whole premise is that he's like, okay, well, you don't care if there are people around? I'm going to find an abandoned warehouse, and I'm going to put you two in it, and I'm going to give you a ref. And two of you are going to walk in, and one of you is going to walk out.
Oh my god!
And that's the match. There's like, even if there would have been an audience, there's not going to be an audience. So it's literally just two men and a ref in a warehouse somewhere in Florida.
I'm sure they can find plenty there.
Sure, but that kind of goes to your point of like it's a simple feud.
Yes,
it's I don't like him. I don't like his face. I don't like his face.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to beat your ass. Yeah. Like, it's simple.
That's all it is.
And I think, in my opinion, the talent at NXT is more, this isn't be play on words, but more talented.
Yeah.
Than some of the people who are on Raw and SmackDown.
Yes.
Because what was happening sometimes.
Sorry, Lacey Evans.
Okay, she's not one of those people.
She's not one of those
She's just
people.
not getting her fair share.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes. But sometimes the people who would go up to get the call to go to the main roster, they would either get put in the back and not get used and then have ring rust when they finally were given a chance, and then they just sucked.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, well, you suck now, so we're going to send you back down to NXT and work more, or we're just going to let you go. And I feel like that was never a good opportunity.
No,
so it's
wasn't
like
fair.
If you got called up, it was like a 50-50 shot that you would actually be a Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Or be a Biggie Langston. Yeah. Like your shot wasn't as good or as like solid as you thought it was going to be. So I feel like now that NXT is more of a third brand than a developmental brand now, people are being like, I want to stay down here.
You know what? Actually, one last final point. I think that, like, because you explained that point, the main, I think, reason why I prefer NXT is because Triple H is in charge of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And Triple H is coming from it with the perspective of being a wrestler, of knowing what it's like to work with someone who's a wrestler, to just see and understand and connect with the people he's working for, or like who are working for him. So if they come to him and they're like, hey, I have this idea, from what I can see, I think he listens and he cares.
Because there's a lot of variety on that show.
Yeah, and I think that is adding to the point of like why the talent is so good is because they want to be with Triple H.
Yeah.
And they want to work under him and they want to do their best. And
it's not all big, huge guys who can't talk. Right?
If you're a monster
Wait,
and you're over 300 pounds, then you don't have the right to speak. Something like that.
Yeah, if you're over 300 pounds, then you're a monster, and I don't want to hear you talk.
There we go.
I still want that on a t-shirt.
That definitely needs to be a t-shirt.
I would love to have that t-shirt.
Yeah.
For sure. Just have dog quotes all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do this episode, is kind of have an intro of who we are and kind of review like what we want to do for the show. Because obviously we're going to follow the same format because they at This Is a Work have mapped out such a good and like a good process on how to review, and it's really easy to listen to and it's fun to listen to. But I think because when I pitched this idea to both Dogs and David, I was like, I think it would be really cool to have a show that was just devoted to NXT, because I understand there's not enough hours in the day for y'all to record 50,000 shows for all the 50,000 shows that they do.
Yeah.
Because WWE has so much programming.
Yeah, so much stuff.
I mean, there's even stuff like there's 205 Live. There's like Main Event that I did not know until recently was actually still a show.
Oh, it's serious? Oh, wow.
Yes. So apparently it used to come on Tuesday nights.
Dang,
and now it's
that.
just on the network, and I thought they had just gotten rid of it. But apparently Cedric Alexander is like the top guy on that show or
Makes
something.
sense because he's amazing.
He is, but again, like,
we wouldn't know that.
would see it. So I understand that there's not enough time to review all of the content, but I feel like NXT is such a legitimate brand.
Yes, absolutely.
And has such legitimate talent that you would be remiss to not review it.
Yes.
Because there's so much good stuff going on there. So that's why I kind of wanted to pitch this idea. And also, having two female hosts, I think, would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And looking at it from the Mark perspective or the fan perspective, like, we're going to have so much differing opinions.
Oh, absolutely.
Than what they're going to have. Because even though Chris is never wrestled, or at least I don't think he has. No? Okay. David's shaking his head no.
Looking over at David.
Exactly. Even though he's never wrestled before, he speaks in a way that it sounds like he's been in the business. Like, at least he's been a manager. He would actually be a great manager.
He could be really... In a way, he is Dogs' manager.
You know what? He's already doing it.
Look at there.
Don't encourage that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get you in trouble, Chris.
Was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago we watched the documentary that was made about Dogs' old Fed?
I've heard so much about this.
Gina, you missed a treat.
I heard that I missed this.
When the doc was over, Dogs was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back in that ring. And everyone in the room was like, Dogs?
No,
baby, no. I mean, like, the curious part of me wants to encourage that just to see, because I've never actually seen him wrestle except for when we did They Fight, and that was pretty legitimate.
Yeah,
I would say
that's pretty great.
But yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, Robert was the one in that wrestling match with Dogs.
Yes.
And he was the one who wanted more chair hits and things like that. But Dogs was actually the polite one and said no to him. So thank you, Dogs. I will say thank you.
There
for
were
that.
chair hits in that?
No, Robert wanted to be hit with a chair, and
I was just
Dogs
making
said
sure.
No. So you know what? Good choice. Thank you, Dogs. But anywho,
and director for not allowing that to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
But yeah, so that's kind of, I think, the main difference between our show and This Is a Work.
Yeah.
Is that we're looking at it from a completely different perspective and what draws us in as a fan.
Yes.
Versus knowing the ins and out of the business, which I think is like interesting to hear. But I think some of the listeners or some, people that new people that we might attract to the show might listen to us and be like, oh yeah, no, I relate to that, or I get that.
And especially because you know so much more about wrestling than I do. I'm still learning.
I know.
But it's a good thing. It's a great thing because now we also have two different personality and perspectives.
That's true.
Because I am someone, especially with NXT, what I have watched, I have loved and enjoyed. And I want to watch more now. And that's why I am doing this with you. And I want to watch more because it's good content.
It's exciting. And also, my fiance will not hear me just talk on and on and on about this anymore. I have an outlet that I can go to and actually...
Now you just need to play it and blast it in the apartment. Just blast it full volume. Be like, oh, you're not hearing me enough? Well, here you go, Ted.
Here we go. Which
you're welcome, Ted.
He's very supportive and he helped me come up with this idea. So I don't want to throw him completely under the bus.
He's lovely.
It's not our relationship if I don't do it a little bit.
It's true love.
But yeah, so I know for the rating system that Dogs does.
Yes.
I did not know what a Meltzer was.
We didn't have to talk about that.
I didn't know that Meltzer was a person.
He is a person.
And then I looked him up, and he's not that great of a person. So
call it out.
I'm just gonna call it.
You know what?
He's not.
No, he's had some moments.
He has. And so I thought,
if you dig too deeply into a lot of these wrestling personalities, you're going to find that to be a common theme.
Hulk Hogan.
You're right. Yes. You don't even have to whisper it. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Say it right into the mic. But so I thought that instead of doing Meltzers, that we would do Regals.
I love it.
So William Regal is the manager of NXT.
Yes.
Has been the manager since the beginning, because I know with Raw and SmackDown you have interchanging managers and you never know who's really in charge.
Yeah.
But William Regal is so classy to me.
Yeah.
He is a British man who used to wrestle and was fantastic.
Yes,
I don't know
I remember
if y'all
Regal.
are familiar with Regal. But so he has... And Ted and I talk about this all the time, and I think it's hilarious. He will just pop in and say like, oh, you have a disagreement? You two match tonight. Ta-ta. And just leaves.
And just walks away.
Literally just leaves. Like, never gets involved in any conflict.
Nope. He just
starts shit and then bolts. And I think it's hilarious. So I thought...
That's such a British thing.
It is, right? So I thought it would be fun to do out of 5 Regals instead of Meltzers.
Yes.
And I tried to talk to Dogs about his rating system. He couldn't give me an exact science on it. So I'm just going to do what he does and just rate it however I want.
Yep. I mean, it's our show. We can do what we want.
Exactly.
I love Two Dogs dearly, and I love producing
we
this
are
show.
talking so much shit about him.
There are times when he'll be like, this was a fantastic match. Everyone in it was fantastic. I can't say anything bad. It was the best match of the night. I gave it 2 Meltzers.
Yeah, right?
I'm like,
right? You're
the
like,
hell? Meanwhile, I hated everything about this match. These two were terrible. The story went nowhere. They couldn't work.
5.
I gave it 3.
Yeah.
And every episode Robert has been on, Robert has called him out on that.
He does.
I
Bless
love that.
him. I love it.
That's hilarious.
Yes. He's good at that.
So I'm just gonna take a note and page out of his book and just rate it however I feel.
Yep, sounds good.
And since there are 2 of us, we can have input on it if we want. But yeah, that's kind of how I wanted to present it. I thought that would be kind of fun.
Yep, so we're going to do Regals.
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, but we were supposed to review TakeOver Tampa.
Yes.
And that was going to be our big claim to fame.
This was our
gonna
start.
Be our big start in our first episode. And we were so excited. It was supposed to be the TakeOver before WrestleMania, and it was going to start off everything. And we were so stoked.
We can just say it once, and then we don't have to mention, because we're all hearing about it nonstop.
It's literally the only thing that anyone likes to talk about. This bitch named Corona decided to come into our space and just wreck it all.
Yeah, I was just
gonna wreck it all up.
Coronavirus, whatever that.
Completely $5 plans.
Completely.
Don't mention him.
Man, just completely that and suplexed us right out.
Suplex City.
Like of our.
This really is the
plot.
Brock Lesnar of diseases.
Oh my god! If there was ever a more
It won't go
perfect
away.
description,
It never.
it literally
never
implanted here, and we said we don't like you, but it said I don't care, and it's just gonna stay and it's gonna spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone keeps giving it the attention that it doesn't deserve. Well, no, it does deserve it. Sorry. Sorry. I was more thinking about Brock. Sorry.
we are taking this seriously.
Yes, we are taking it very
We are
seriously.
currently 6 feet apart from each other and doing social distancing as much as we can. And we know that this is an issue.
Yes.
And when we listen back to this, hopefully within a few months when all of this blows over, we can all laugh about it. But it's definitely wrecked our plans and wrecked our lives for sure.
But
What we had planned to do was review TakeOver Tampa, obviously. But what the WWE has decided to do is they have decided to completely cancel TakeOver.
yeah.
Which I have thoughts and opinions on that.
Lots of feelings.
And decided to make WrestleMania a 2-day event. And their tagline is, too big for just one night. And I'm sitting here
It just got smaller.
thinking
because of
about
some stuff.
our WrestleMania viewing parties that we have and how they literally take all day.
Yeah.
Like we start at like 3 in the afternoon. We grill out, we drink and like have fun.
Yep.
And we don't leave Dog's house until midnight.
Yeah.
Like it's literally
That's like
a full day thing. So
tradition.
It is. But like the thought of having that twice in a row, which I doubt it's
Golly.
going to be. I doubt it's going to be that long.
Just bring sleeping bags and a
We
change of
should,
clothes.
which I
we'll
don't-
just camp out on the floor.
Can we even like come over and watch
I was
it?
just gonna say, can we? I mean,
We don't know how we're going to record it yet. Like Dogs.
That's true.
Dogs and Chris and I have not decided yet on exactly what the format is going to be. Like we're supposed to have Jason Finger, the host of the podcast with Jason and Mike.
Oh,
he was
right.
supposed to be the guest for the WrestleMania episode. Not sure if that's still happening or not. Not sure if we're going to review it in 2 parts or if we're just going to watch both parts together and then record maybe an extra long episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't decided.
Well, because with it being over 2 days, like I think they've announced what the matches are, but I don't think they've said what matches are on what days.
Yeah,
At this point, they might have after we've recorded this,
Yeah.
but like, so that was the thing with TakeOver.
Yes.
Is now they have decided to put it on as a part of the regular weekly show. So over the next 3 weeks, starting April 1st, which I think is this coming up Wednesday, they will just add the matches into the programming.
yes.
But here's the catch. They did not reveal what any of the matches were.
Yeah, at all.
So once all of this crisis started, they had one match that was starting to build. So they had a number 1 contender ladder match
Nice.
for the women's NXT title. So basically, whoever won between Rhea and Charlotte, they were going to have to face this winner of this number 1 contender ladder match. So they had started the whole process of developing that match when all of this hit. So that was the only one that they had officially announced that was going to happen at TakeOver. Everything else had just been kind of assumed. So like Keith Lee and Dijakovic we're going to get into Keith Lee for sure. I love Keith Lee.
Wonderful human.
So between him, Dijakovic, and Damian Priest, there was going to be a triple threat match for Keith Lee's North American Championship, but that was never officially announced.
Yeah.
Announced? That just
Sean
came.
Connery.
That just came out of my mouth.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
I was
you outed
surprised.
yourself, man. I mean, you outed yourself.
I know me, and I know I'm going to go back and listen to that later, and that's going to stick out in my head unless I go ahead and just like power through and just put it out there.
And I mean, we might as well just accept and just go ahead and announce to you guys that's going to happen with us. We're going to
so much just I mean, we're gonna
as we get more relaxed.
Yes, because I have the nervous jitters, and so I'm probably
trying
a lot.
to sound very, very professional.
I can't tell you how many times Chris, Stan, or Dogs will ask me to edit something out of an episode, go back and fix it. I'm like, no.
You know what? For a long time, I didn't think you edited.
No, really, we had this conversation the other day.
Yeah, I literally, because everything sounded
seamless.
so smooth that I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. I literally thought that you didn't edit.
I do a minimal amount of editing now. When we started the show, I did a lot of it. I'd go through and cut out pauses and uhs and so's and all that. And it would be like a 2-day process to get an episode online.
And you're like,
now, if something seriously happens that just completely interrupts the flow of an episode, I will write down a time code and I'll take that out. But that's pretty much the only editing I do now.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But so no editing requests. So if I royally mess something up, you're like, too bad, hun.
Oh, if it's
he'll laugh at it harder.
Yeah. I'll definitely laugh at it. And
you laugh at me all the time anyway, so it's fine. It's not any different.
Yeah, if it's bad enough that that's going to interrupt the episode, I'll go through and take it out. But if it's just you doing a friendly Sean Connery impression, that's going to stay in there.
Connery.
Swear.
I swear.
We're going to have to somehow incorporate him now in just random moments.
I think you have a better impression than I do.
But gosh.
Anyway, I completely forgot what I was going to say.
We were talking about...
Tampa. I have it, yes. So we discussed having this episode, our intro episode, and then having a recap episode within the next 3 weeks to try to piece together what has happened.
Yeah.
And I've been watching pretty regularly, so I kind of know what the matches could be. So Champa and Gargano, obviously that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Charlotte.
Well, Charlotte and Rhea are on WrestleMania.
Charlotte.
Do you want her back or not?
No,
Can we talk about this now?
I mean, we can wait. It's up to you. I just think it's hilarious that she just was like, "Sup, y'all," kicking the door, and it's like, and then of course Bianca, "You don't even go here,"
which is now a reoccurring chant whenever she enters the building.
Which is why I love Bianca Belair.
Yes, I know she's your favorite.
Oh, she's the est.
She is the est, or the EST.
EST
is what she says. Which I want to make a reoccurring segment, by the way, but we can get into that.
We'll talk about that.
Yes, but yeah. So I don't know if she's going to be coming back to NXT. If she wins, obviously, because she has the title, they can't just put the NXT women's title on Raw. That's not.
I think
really
it's a smart move for her because she's.
No, I think so too.
Pretty much fought everybody on that roster in WWE.
There's nothing else for her to do.
Yeah, so
between both of those brands, she's literally beaten everybody in the women's division.
Or they've somehow magically beaten her. So,
but not without either a really hard-fought match, or some trickery.
Yeah, with some trickery.
But
she is a Flair.
Yes, and Rhea is definitely my favorite in the women's division.
Yeah,
which if you saw the lovely picture that David Hensley took of us. That's definitely my body. That's not Rhea's body, for sure.
Yeah, and the reason...
I've been working out a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, as we've been quarantined.
What else are we going to do?
Yeah. And for those of you who are going, wait, but she just said Bianca Belair is her favorite. I chose Lacey Evans for obvious reasons, and that is where I'm leaving it. So
you can put 2 and 2 together on that.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into that specifically.
But I do adore Lacey Evans, and I'm going to say this. I wish she would. I know she's so fabulous. I feel like she is not being used to her full potential on that main roster.
Well, she's in a feud with Bailey right now.
Yeah, well,
it's a five-way. Is that what you call it? I don't know if that sounds weird. But I don't know.
We're going there.
I don't know what else to call it. Match with basically half the women's roster on SmackDown. I don't know if that's just an attempt to try to fill out the show, or what. But it'll definitely be interesting. This is not the schedule that we had normally planned,
not at all,
or originally planned, I guess. But we're gonna roll with it because we really want to do it.
Exactly.
So I mean, we can't let Corona keep us down.
Corona.
Yeah, of the 3 shows that I produce now, my own Long Walk Talks is the only one that isn't suffering and is in fact prospering, because now it's so much easier for me and Chris and Stan to get together.
Yeah, I bet so.
All the wrestling shows, however.
I mean, and all you're doing is watching movies right now.
Exactly.
Right?
Smart.
And if you're not listening to Long Walk Talks, you should definitely listen. It's a great show if you love movies, if you're a movie buff.
That was not a Corona cough. I would like to clarify. I have
season.
allergies, and Pollen decided to go, nah.
This is great timing for all of that to hit, right? Mm-hmm. Because now every time someone coughs, I mean, I'm out of the office now, but like, oh my gosh, and when somebody coughed, you literally could see the heads pop up around the cubicles, like, who did it?
In the school too, where I was working, the kids even were like,
before things got shut down entirely, when I was at work at my day job and somebody would cough, I would point at them and shout, Corona. And that was only funny for a little while.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, okay.
And then a lot more people started to get it.
And then it got,
Yeah. I mean, when you shouted that, did you immediately move 6 feet away?
Oh, no.
No, absolutely. You got closer, I'm sure.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's kind of what I envisioned this first episode to kind of be. Yeah. I mean, we're going to take it as we go.
I feel like from a marketing standpoint, if they don't advertise on the weekly episodes of NXT, this would have been a paper or a takeover match. Mm-hmm. That would just be missing the mark on their part.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I was really confused when Triple H came on to the show this past week, because they talked about it at the beginning, saying like Sports Illustrated just announced, and I'm like, you have your own source, like why do you have to quote another source? But like they have their own like multi-million-dollar marketing team you can quote.
Bless them.
But they were talking about how it's been canceled and now it's going to do this, and they're like, and Triple H is going to address the NXT universe about what's going on, and he didn't at all. He just talked about Tommaso and Johnny the whole time.
Good for him though. Which, I mean, honestly, like he already did. Like they already talked about it before they made that stupid announcement.
That's
like,
true. And whenever he is on the show, you can tell he's just like,
I have to do this, man.
This is the hand I'm dealt, guys. Like, I hate it. It sucks, but...
And moving on.
Here we go. Here's your show.
Yeah.
Which I can respect that.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
But I agree, David. I think, like, if they don't say which ones they are, like... Because I think the whole fact, or the whole reason why they're doing this, instead of just completely canceling the whole thing, is... Because they're on the same night as AEW Dynamite right now. And that's their main competition. So if they're... I feel like it would have been really stupid to just throw those matches away.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're doing it, to try to boost in the ratings, to be like, hey, you don't know when this match is going to be. Is it going to be this week? Is it going to be next week? Like, you have to tune in. Well, you have to tune in to watch. Yeah. So I think that's maybe a reason why they're doing it like that.
And smart.
I don't know. I'm not going to try to get in the heads of the WWE executives.
Oh, Lord.
Not a good place to be, I don't think.
Yeah, no, especially not Vince McMahon.
But, yeah. So I think that's a pretty good stopping point. Is there anything... I mean, this is the part of the show where we would promote things that we're doing, but there's nothing to promote right now. We're not promoting Corona. We are trying to get her out of here.
Bye.
But
unless Corona Beer wants to offer me a sponsorship,
oh my gosh.
In which case I will promote Corona every episode.
Case?
What?
Case of beer?
Yes.
You said case. Sorry.
Yes.
That was a horrible attempt at a pun. Here we go.
And that's how we're
and
start
we're off.
Pun train. Yep.
Well, Shelby, if people want to follow you online and interact with you, how can they do that?
I am on everything except Twitter, because I don't like Twitter. I am on Facebook under Shelby Ray, and my Instagram name is SlayAllRay. So if you want to, I post a lot of cute dog videos. I don't know. There's a lot of those going around.
We need them, man.
I know. But if you want to follow me, you can follow me on those two things.
Yeah.
And Gina, how can people follow you?
Yeah, I'm the same with Shelby. I do not do the Twitter.
I try to avoid that as much as possible.
Time suck.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if people have it they just have it to say that they have it.
Yeah, honestly.
Or for Chris, it's to say the funny name.
Or Robert Bradford to get his great source of information about all WWE stuff. He found out more stuff than like both of us talking. He found out about Roman before everything else.
Well, I think that was his way of being like, hey, I'm going to put out so much content that I'm going to make you put me back on the show.
That's right.
And I'm going to make you...
Subtle hint, subtle
Exactly.
hint.
It is nice that Robert provides his own running commentary during all the pay-per-views.
Always.
Yeah, that's a story that we can save for a later time, too, because that
definitely
is
will.
funny, because we were all there.
Love you, babe.
But yeah, so sorry, Gina, I interrupted your...
No, it's
your
so
thing.
fine. My, I guess, Instagram is Broadway_baby1218. Yeah, I made it a long time ago. Don't judge
She made it in college, don't judge her.
I did. But I haven't been on there in forever, but I'm probably going to get back onto it now that we're starting the
'Cause what
podcast.
else are you gonna do?
And exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and starting the podcast, right?
Yeah.
I
I was trying to promote
I need
us.
to get myself in check. I'm usually the positive one out of the two
Yeah.
of us. So
Well, we'll work on it.
We'll work on it.
But yeah, and then Facebook, it's Gina Belmont. So there we go.
So thanks you guys, and thanks for listening. And for Gina Belmont and David Hensley and Shelby Ray, you have just been taken over.
Ooh.
Very nice. If you enjoy this show, please make sure to check out our two sister shows, This Is a Work and Long Walk Talks. You can find more of our old episodes on YouTube, which I will have links for in the show notes. If you enjoy these shows, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you are listening on. Thank you very much.
Bye.